What exactly is a hardware asset? So a hardware asset is physical IT equipment that has been defined, so going back to that defined word, as being an asset due to data, financial, mobility, or criticality responsibilities. Scope usually would include your laptops, your desktops, monitors, printers, scanners, tablets as well. That's a good one. Mobile phones, server switches, routers, firewalls, basically the core end user based assets and also your core infrastructure assets. Like I said before, though, this is not set in stone, and there may be asset types that you want to manage under ITAM. Absolutely fine. I've seen it all being managed under ITAM, but just bearing in mind that the assets that normally fall under your scope are inventoryable, discoverable, so that you can manage them within your asset management database or your IT asset management tools that you may have already implemented. So that's kind of the loose scope. That's a great foundation to go off when you're looking at defining what a hardware asset is within your organization. Starting there and then maybe talking to key stakeholders what other assets they wish to manage as part of ITAM. It's not set in stone, yet we can expand or even shrink down the scope based on your organizational requirements, your organizational goals. If that seems a bit overwhelming with a lot of different asset types within the initial scope, then what I see a lot of organizations do and what we help them do is break that down. So, okay, what are your pain points right now for managing hardware? Your infrastructure. Okay, fine. Let's focus on the servers, the switches, the routers, the storage arrays, etc. Let's focus on implementing HAM for that environment first. Vice versa, if the end user based technology is the real pain point, then let's focus on that one first. You don't have to go and try and boil the ocean and tackle all of those different asset types at the same time. You'll just get completely overwhelmed. Your processes will be half done because you're focusing on so many different areas, and it just won't be a successful implementation. So if you don't have the resources or the time, break it down based on the asset type, implement hardware asset management for the end user stuff. And even then, if that's too much, just focus on laptops and desktops, then move it on to printers, then move it on to the network stuff, etc., etc. You get my point. You don't have to go out and boil the ocean. But when building that scope, it's really important for you to understand how you're going to discover and inventory these hardware assets. It's all well and good putting, weird and wacky hardware into the ITAM scope, but if you can't inventory it, you've got to look at that time to value. So if it's something that is not going to have an agent on it, you're not going to asset tag, is it just going to be manual updates into your spreadsheets, that then goes into your asset management database? Are you going to put asset tags on this so that you can scan them? If they're not being discovered, how are you going to track where they are? So these are all considerations to make when looking for non-discoverable based IT equipment that you want to count as an asset. We haven't touched on consumables because they are not an asset, but they too can be managed within your asset management database, and you can set up stock threshold levels and all that kind of stuff, so that if you're running out of keyboards or cables or whatever it may be, that you get alerts set. But when building your scope, if there's one thing to hammer home here, is really think about how you're going to discover it, how you're going to update your asset management database, and how you're going to track its movements and its life cycle if there's no agent on there, or if it's not discoverable or scannable via network discoveries.